This is the stuff dreams are made of. I'm writer-collector Ryan Condal.
And I'm writer-collector Dave Mandel, and you're listening to the original movie prop collecting podcast brought to you by Heritage Auctions, HA.com. They've got their giant entertainment extravaganza coming up July 16th, 17th, and 18th. And on the 15th, the day before it, so really actually the first day, they've got the huge Cecil B. DeMille Lifetime Collection. So just to say it all again, July 15th, Cecil B. DeMille Lifetime Collection. Then starting the 16th, 17th, and 18th, you've got 3 days of the regular entertainment memorabilia auction, which features, among other things, the Bob Peak Collection in Session 1. And
Incredible.
that's gonna loop around. That's called foreshadowing, folks. That's gonna loop around in this episode. It's really elegant foreshadowing. I've really laid some pipe, some expositional pipe there. So how are you, Ryan?
That's right. I'm good. This is one of our early morning editions. So
this is the flip. This is our flip where it's my night and Ryan's early morning, and we're
Very
both
early
drinking
morning.
coffee. It's ironic. No,
Yeah, there we go.
I have a Diet Pepsi, but yeah, no.
I have some beautiful early London side light coming in from here. It was a good week. I wanted to we do this from time to time. We do a little like movie evangelizing. So before we jump into the prop stuff, I went to the F1 premiere this week, which
very cool.
told you guys about, and it's really excellent. And like it's a 1990s blockbuster in like all the best ways. It's an original film. It's star-studded. It's brash. It's loud. It's shot for IMAX. It needs to be seen in a theater. I just go. I mean, it's original. It's not a bunch of guys in capes. Which is kind of the rest of our summer, which is fine, but I just think it needs to be seen, and the level of craft and invention that went into it, and figuring out how to do those races and make them real, so it wasn't just done,
I'm
in a volume or on a blue screen or whatever.
I'm super excited. I'm really excited. It's, I guess this is my sort of modern movie going. It's sort of these. I saw Mission Impossible, and I've seen nothing since, right? I guess that's right. Mission Impossible, and I've seen nothing since, and now I'll see F1, and at some point I'll see Superman, and I'll see Fantastic Four, and then it will be Labor Day. I think that's my summer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's that. I do want to see 28 Years Later. I do want to see that one. I feel
like that's already on my television somehow. Like maybe I'm wrong. Am I?
No. It's 28 Days Later has made a resurgence in the in all the
so
movie
that's
stores.
why it's there. Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. But 28 Weeks is definitely still in theaters. And then I don't know. I feel like there's another straggler in there, but I'm looking.
I'm sure there's something we're forgetting, but I mean that is like those are my little posts. Yeah.
I feel duty bound to go see Superman, whereas Fantastic Four I'm actually looking forward to. I do really actually want to see that. I think that's it's a nice place for the sort of whatever phase we're in with Marvel, phase 17. But like it feels like that's the beginning of a new thing.
Their phases are a lot like the seasons of our show. I think their phases are built exclusively around Heritage and Prop Store auctions. I think that's how they do it.
Whether or not they can get sponsorship from Heritage and Prop Store. That's very good. But it's just, I don't know. It's been, I don't see it, as I complain to you often, Dave, I don't see adult movies in the theater much anymore. Every kid's movie, I can do a whole blog on grown-ups going to children's movies and which ones to see and which ones to avoid, because my kids love it. And there's a big part of my childhood is going to the movies with my parents, and I just it's great fun, and they love the sort of, I don't know, the ritual of it and going and getting popcorn. We have this really nice smaller theater sort of near us that we can walk to, so I take them to that, and so we see everything that comes out. And it's great fun. It's a fun experience, but my hit rate there is like 1 out of 5 in terms of me enjoying it.
That used to just be nap time. Madeline and I just got back from. We were on an East Coast college tour. We drove around all over Western Massachusetts and Vermont and upstate New York. And we were gone for 7 days. And we were in all these little towns, and they all had a nice little movie theater. A lot of them weren't the college towns that we were staying in. We were in we would like see a college and then drive towards the next place.
Yeah.
And invariably we wanted to go see the Wes Anderson, and it was just like every theater had just. It was like, everything was live action, how to Train Your Dragon. So
Yeah.
we never quite got to the movies. So
Yeah,
that was
you missed
that.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to.
I saw the original. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. I do want to see. I do want to see the Wes Anderson movie, but that would be my experience. Is I would want to go see the Wes Anderson movie, and then we would end up seeing How to Train Your Dragon. So anyway, which I actually the kids do want to see that. I do want to see that, and I enjoyed the originals, which they experienced for the first time on home video because they weren't old
Sure.
enough and whatever. But they do like those movies, so that's another one that's on our list of things to do. But yes, I just wanted to say a nice thing about that because I really, really enjoyed it and really enjoyed the cast. Actually, this guy Samson Kao is in the movie, who plays a very small but luminous role in House of the Dragon. He was one of Ulf's buddies, if you remember, at one of his drinking buddies at the bar. And Samson plays Damson Idris's manager in F1.
That's the young driver, right?
Correct,
That's
the young driver.
yeah.
And they're like a sort of Statler and Waldorf kind of comedy duo. He's kind of like they love each other, but they're bickering and whatever else. And Samson's a comedian, and he I saw him after the film and told him what a great job I thought he did, but he was allowed to do a lot of improv, which he can't really do on our show,
right?
Because it's very hard to improv in Westerosi syntax. So he was having a great old time, but he's very funny in it. And it was just great to see. I mean, I adore him. He's a great actor and also just a wonderful human being. But I saw him before, and he's like, I'm in the movie, and then I see him in it, and he's like, I don't know, the fifth or sixth lead in the thing, and it's like, wow, you're really in the movie.
Right. That's not just in the movie.
Yeah. And just had some very memorable moments in the movie.
Cool.
So that was all enjoyable. So I don't know how long it's in the theater because it is an Apple thing. So they're doing this Warner Brothers.
It's already out of the theater. They just took it out. Sorry.
But go find an IMAX ticket and go see it loud because it's awesome. And then should we do what's new in props? Do you have a what's new in props?
I do. I've got like 1.5 what's new in props. My half, which is my fault, was I was supposed to actually meet Tim Ralston to get all my displays, my ongoing display project, which is very exciting. But Bart and I were shooting at Heritage today. So, by the way, check the YouTube channels to see all of our Heritage stuff. But because of that, I did not get a chance to get my displays going. So I'm running a little behind more where I wanted to be. But that's my fault. I sort of scheduled it and forgot to reschedule it when we scheduled the Heritage stuff. But that's a good way of saying go check out our YouTube videos. They're pretty fun. We got to see so much great stuff. It was pretty cool. The other thing, any favorites that surprised you in person versus what we sort of paged through in the catalog? It was really great seeing some of the Cecil B. DeMille stuff. I mean, I was really blown away by just stuff like, I know this is gonna sound silly, but just standing there next to the Squawman camera, things like that, and that art is as spectacular as we thought it was. It really was. I don't know if there were any like prop surprises. The E.T., the costume that Gertie dresses him in, it was really fabulous. I mean, again, not that I don't know if that's a surprise, but it was even I thought it was great, and it was even better than I thought. So you'll get to see all that stuff, which was very fun. But there was something in the New York Times that I thought was very interesting. And this was from the Social Cues. That's the social questions thing from June 25th, 2025. And the headline is, "How can we get my aging stepmother to cull her many belongings?" My father and stepmother, who's important to me, are aging. They're in their mid-70s, and I'm the only child in my early 40s. For years, my father's been trying to persuade my stepmother to reduce her possessions. She's not a hoarder. She simply has more things that she can use. It's a very touchy subject. We're talking about things that she hasn't used in years and that are unwanted by other family members. Her own mother was an amazing person who prepared for her old age. She reduced her belongings on her own and moved herself into an assisted living facility. My father has asked me to speak to my stepmother about this issue because he has tried so many times and failed. Any suggestions? Signed, Son. And I read this, and I think it may be possibly about me. And I wasn't sure whether you sent it in or Becky sent it in. So did you write it? I wasn't sure.
She called me. She had offered me sort of anything I wanted from the condo if I would just have a chat with you. So I'm actually glad you're here, Dave. We're now that we're live.
I just would like, if I'm going to go into assisted living, I'd like to at least bring like a little bit of comic art and maybe a prop or two. Would that be possible?
You feather your bed in there. Yeah.
Anyway, that made me laugh. It's a portent of things to come. So get ready, everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
Just,
Yes. Certainly. I like the qualifier. Not a hoarder.
Not a hoarder, very nice person. Yeah.
Very nice person, but totally a hoarder.
But nobody in the family wants any of it. Yeah.
Please help.
Story of my life.
She has every TV guide from the beginning of time.
Yeah. So that's what's new in props. Yeah. How about you?
So my what's new in props, I was actually trying to think. It's another one of our dense sort of doing a million episodes back to back auction seasons. I do have something.
I know it's a real problem that we can't buy quick enough to keep up with the what's new in props.
I know. Yeah.
Buy.
We should rectify that. If only we weren't financing an expensive podcast, we might be able to buy more props. I do have something cooking, but I do want to. When it's done, I want to show it off. So I want to say it and then show it off. So we're a couple weeks away from that. But actually, I was walking to set this week. I left my office and I was coming to set, and the great Tim Lewis, former and hopefully future guest of the Stuff Dreams Are Made Of,
soon to be multi-time guest. Yes, hopefully. Yeah,
that's right. Headed me off in his pickup. He just sort of came across my bow as if I was being extreme renditioned in a movie. I thought I might be hooded and thrown in the back of his pickup truck, but he held up his finger and got out and presented to me a brand new sword that he had been working on for a while, and it's a Valyrian steel piece. And I think so. Remember, Tim joined us sort of after I had gone out and had Dark Sister and Blackfire designed by Peter Janssen, also former guest of the podcast, because we started that process very early in prep because I just wanted all that lead time to get those designs right, knowing that we might be kind of hustled along in the first season and had so many things to make and whatever. So, Tim sort of started making stuff after Blackfire and Dark Sister. Those were the things that were not making, but designing.
Right.
So everything from there forward, Tim designed. This thing that he showed me is my favorite thing that he has done. And it's Valyrian steel. It's a new pattern. So there are, in the making of sort of Damascus steel, you can get different patterns out of the steel, and they name all the patterns, and it depends on it's the forging process, and it's what kind of because Damascus steel is not mono steel, it's like a multi steel. It's all fused together in layers like a katana, like a samurai sword, but they use multiple different steels, and that's how you get the kind of wood grain pattern, because it's all of them sort of binding and fusing together in the folding and forging process. And this one is called like a feathered pattern, and it looks like bird feathers in the way that it sort of fuses together, and it all kind of tapers off the center, and it's
wild.
It's gorgeous. And
we will see this sword in the new season,
in season 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just very excited by it, and Tim was just delighted, which is why he was bouncing up and down. And he has actually, I think I mentioned this before, but he has this blacksmith that actually works with him. So some things we actually do properly forge at the forge.
Right.
For the hero version, and then what they do is they take it and they replicate it in aluminum. So he will now take that pattern and figure out how to print that onto an aluminum blade.
That's going to be
that's safer for the actor.
Yeah.
So in super close, hero shots, you'll see the sort of heavy steel version. But anything where the actor's using the sword for safety reasons, we would need to use the alley version, as they say, the aluminum version.
The aluminum version, or are there like sort of half sword versions or just hilts that you CGI the sword in, or no, that's not something that you guys do?
Yeah. There are rubbers too for safety, like fighting rubbers, and then they'll make rubbers with the blade chopped at different points if it's a beheading or stabbing. Yeah, those are the new retracts basically. Okay. It's like they cut the blade basically how deep it needs to go into the target. So like a slashing one will be
and then
kind
that's
of a half
just a
blade,
CGI. Gotcha.
and then a stabbing one will be like most of the blade is gone.
The true hero metal of this new Valerian steel sword it'll be in the close-ups. Yeah. And it will be in the background of a lot of photos at your house, which is where it'll be, right? Is that what I'm to understand?
I did, because it took a while to sort of engineer this thing, because he really wanted to do this. The pattern on the blade is actually, it's more of a knife steel pattern, because you can do these really crazy things at small scale, but once you get into the big scale of doing a sword steel, you get more limited just because of the chemistry and technology and whatever. So it took them a while he really wanted to do this kind of knife steel pattern at scale, and it took him a while to engineer it. And the first thing I said when I handed it back to him is, "Do you have time to make another?" So we'll see. I think at some point, yes. But the other thing is, you'll see it in the scabbard as well. Because a lot of times because that hilt is always the best looking hilt. It's the proper hero. The shiniest, the most well detailed, the one. Yeah. And which is unfortunate, because you don't see the beautiful blade because it's in the scabbard. But yes, it's used for all those things. So that will be on screen. Of course, but there will also be others, and that's the magic of movie making. So that was very exciting. That was probably the thing that I was most excited about him making this year overall, and just the way that it came together was a real thrill.
That is a good what's new in props, but you can't tell. You're still not allowed to tell us the name, right?
No, I mean, I think anybody that's kind of paying attention and as to what's going on, that's read the book, probably knows what it is, but yeah, I just want to.
Yep, I get it.
Let it all happen for the fans, so it comes in clean.
Very nice.
Good D's. And then on the other side of the season release, I'll bring it on. Maybe that's a good reason to bring Tim back on and just talk about his this sort of forge process that he has going now, which was a thing that he sort of started. He didn't do it in season 1. He started it in season 2. So last year. So ice was made this way. This is how when they made ice for the Ned Stark sword, which Craig and Stark carried around. They did it at the forge, which means the thing weighs like 30 pounds. Because
is the forge is that something they build on the backlot, or the forge is somewhere else? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's in the sort of studio workshop space.
Nice,
but it's I have pictures of it. Bart, if you remind me, I'll send you pictures of Jamie, our blacksmith, working at the forge. But yeah, it's a proper sort of.
That's very cool.
It's the modern version. So it's this like fired kind of tube thing where he works the steel. It's not the thing from Conan, but otherwise, the anvil and the hammer are very. That's like old school technology. It's the proper fire is very modern, and then he goes to sort of medieval tech.
It's still just hammering something.
The hammering,
and looping it or whatever. But
and there is an air hammer that he has. So there's certain things that help speed it along. But yes, it is still very old technology. But it's like 3,000 degrees or something like that it burns at.
I feel like it's very similar to like pastry making, where you're kind of like layering and layering and layering, trying to get layers and butter and layers and butter. So very similar. Yeah.
Maybe we can do an Is It Cake episode with Valyrian steel swords.
And cake too. Yeah, pretty good.
Hmm.
That is hilarious. One of the other things we saw today, which were quite a sight to see, were they had a couple of the Bob Peak pieces from the session one, the Bob Peak collection. They had one, two, three. They had four of the paintings there in Beverly Hills, and they're going to be there. I think three of them are going to stay there for a bit, and one of them, I think the Apocalypse Now is going to New York. So the pieces are sort of traveling around, but you can get yourself over to Beverly Hills and check that out. It's pretty cool to see. And speaking of Bob Peak,
Yeah, that's really
fore,
good.
foreshadowing.
I was gonna do a weird sword transition into, you know what movie has a great sword is
Oh, Excalibur.
Excalibur.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
good. I
but
like that too.
also acceptable.
Yep.
But yes, we were lucky enough to, in the process of putting together this season for Heritage, get in contact with Thomas Peak, Tom Peak, who is Bob Peak's son. Might be his favorite son. We couldn't really figure that out, as you'll hear. But we, Tom has written books on his dad and is sort of the keeper of the lore and knowledge of him, and kind of knows everything. So we asked, they said yes. He said yes. He was willing to come on. He's an awesome interview. Let's bring him in and change our shirts. So give a warm "The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of" welcome to Mr. Thomas Peak.
Hey, Tom, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for the opportunity for me to talk about my father and his life and his career.
I just want to start by saying this. I'm holding this up. I've already held it up before, but
Yeah.
treasures from the Bob Peak collection. Never has the word treasures been used so aptly, as far as I am concerned. Treasures is a word, it gets thrown around a lot, but these really are treasures. And I was curious if we could start with this as a question. Why now? I mean, you've been the keeper, you've kind of been the keeper of the flame, the keeper of the treasures. What made you decide now is the time to sort of, share these with the world in terms of letting them go from your possession, if you will?
Interesting you asked me that because that's a question I thought you were probably going to ask. And my father died in 1992. It's been many years, and his notoriety was huge back then, and it's only grown with time. And I have just recently turned 70. These treasures that are being auctioned are from my collection, some of from my collection, and from my sister's collection, Kathy Carbone. And the reason why we just felt after all these years, life's you get a little bit on in years, life's short. Um, it was time to finally let go of some of my dad's premier illustration movie work. So that's kind of how it all came to being.
Collectors are hearing that you're moving on and deascensioning and getting very excited about what is coming to market. And I think, for me, the most exciting thing that was in your family's collection, and you tell me if this is if you see it differently. The thing that I've always associated with your dad, and I've been a fan of his for as long as I've been a fan of movies, is the Apocalypse Now, the original, the one sheet art. And I know he actually, there was a lot of actually published art from your dad that was out there for Apocalypse Now, used for different international posters. But to me, this one, the piece that's in this particular auction, is the one that I've always associated with the movie. It's the poster that I had hanging on my wall. Is that the one that you feel like you were asked the most about, that people wanted to talk the most about? Is that the one that you associate the most with your dad and his work, or what tell us?
Well, my dad did worked on over 100 movies over the years, and he did many works for West Side Story, Camelot, Star Trek, My Fair
Star
Lady. The
Trek, yeah,
list
sure.
goes on and on and on. But he always felt that his favorite piece he ever did was the work he had done for Francis Ford Coppola for Apocalypse Now. And this key art is what he always felt was his best piece of movie art he ever produced. And the reason why this whole thing came to being is I reached out to Heritage just to have some conversations, and they found out that I was in possession of the final key art in mint condition, beautifully framed, and that's kind of where the ball started rolling. Then I received phone calls from them, and I met with some people from Heritage, Todd Hignite in particular,
Mhm.
and Joe Mandialona. We met over in Joe was on the phone, but we met over at their Beverly Hills location, and that kind of started this whole ball rolling. That was going to be the premiere piece in this particular set of 12 of my dad's movie artwork for up for sale.
Well, it's always been the thing that I have associated, and I love his Star Trek work. I mean, I love all of his work. Superman, I think of Excalibur, but the Apocalypse Now is the one that always stuck out to me. It's in a frame. I mean, has that been hanging up in your house or your family's house?
Actually, it's been in my place for a while now. I've done several exhibitions of my dad's works over the years, and at museums and at galleries, and I've had it at several of those, even at the Beverly Hills at the Academy Motion Pictures Arts and Science. We did an exhibition there. The Frederick R. Wiseman Museum over in Malibu. We did an exhibition there. We did one in New York City at the Society of Illustrators Museum. My dad's a Hall of Fame member there.
Hmm.
We did an exhibition at Nucleus Gallery over in Alhambra, California. I've done several exhibitions, and so this has been seen at several different times. But it's basically was framed many, many years ago, and it's been just sitting on my wall or in a at times I've had it in a temperature controlled storage unit with other works of my dad,
Yeah.
and it's just the piece is like it was painted yesterday,
Yeah. It
and it
looks
was done.
fantastic.
He painted it back in 1978.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say that's about 50 years
Yes.
ago, so you would have been around 20 or
Yeah.
so. Did your dad, like, work at home? Do you remember him working on that piece? Like, is that something you remember sort of like 'cause, there's not only the finished piece, but there's that really interesting face study that has Robert Duvall, who I guess was fighting with Coppola,
Yes.
and so they wouldn't let him be like, he didn't wanna be on the poster, and then there's that bridge shot. So there are multiple sort of pieces and studies, and we've seen other heads and whatnot that all kind of went into this. But I was curious, were you kind of, as a young person, aware of like what your dad was working on at any given time? Did he work at home? How did he work? What was his process?
My dad he worked at home at one point, but we lived in Connecticut. We went from New York City 36 Central Park South when we were really young. Then my parents moved the family to Greenwich, Connecticut. And my dad worked at home in Greenwich, but with four kids running around the house, he decided to take a studio in Westport, Connecticut, which was kind of an artist colony.
Mm.
And
Okay.
it was about 35 minutes up the Merritt Parkway. So my dad had a studio in Westport for many years, and he would do his work from there. And as far as myself concerned, I remember going up and cleaning his studio whenever my mother told me to clean his studio. But I was not really around him when he was actually working. I have a younger brother named Matthew who is an artist himself, and he spent some time with my dad while he was drawing. Um, but I do remember the work he was doing growing up. But when you're like 18, 16, 20 years old, you don't really have the grasp
Yeah.
of what he's really doing. It's like, oh, my dad's an artist. My dad's paints. But as you get a little bit older, you start to understand the enormity of his career and the amount of work that he did, not just in the movie business, but he did time covers, TV
Hmm.
guide covers, he did editorial, he did stamps, worked for the Olympics. His agent, Harvey Kahn, out of New York, said for every three jobs your dad did, we turned down three. My dad was in such
Wow.
demand for 30 years, it would really surprise people as to how much work he did. I mean, he was constantly working, not just movie work, but other advertising work as well.
It's the 50th anniversary this year also of Jaws, which there's a lot of stuff going on, and I've heard so many people putting up images and talking about your dad's Time magazine cover, which is a movie image, but it's for
Yeah.
Time magazine of
Yes,
the shark.
yes,
And people talk about it, almost like the Jaws poster that never was, because the shark is so visceral and scary and kind of encompassed everything everyone loved about that movie into, a cover of a magazine when Time magazine, was selling
Yeah.
millions of
It was on
millions of
everybody's coffee
copies
table. Yeah.
every day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys get to see when he was working on a movie? Would you guys get to see movies sometimes? Like we're going to go into town and see a rough cut or see a movie. Was that anything that was part of your guys' life at all?
Not at all. My father, though, on the other hand, my dad, backtracking a minute, my dad did 45 Time magazine covers over the
Oh
years,
wow.
starting in 1970 with the band was the first one he ever did, and he would do constantly for many years. He would do Time magazine covers, and the Jaws ones. I know Richard Castle is the one who did the key art, and it's a really great
Of
piece.
course, but it's a
And
wonderful
I
piece.
and my dad got the opportunity to do Jaws. And for one of my books, I got a nice paragraph written by Steven Spielberg on that piece that my
Oh,
dad
great.
did for Jaws. But as far as us seeing the movies he did, we saw them at the theaters. Now, my dad was really unique at the time. My dad, many, many times, got the opportunity to actually go on movie sets, which a lot of other his contemporaries never did. He went, to Germany for rollerball. He went to Europe for the Grand Prix racing. He went to the West when they were working on the Missouri Breaks.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
My
mhm.
dad, with Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando, with the director Penn, he was on set for 3 weeks. So a lot of times, my dad would spend time on the movie sets.
Were they doing that? Were they doing that so that he could make a better poster, or were they doing that because he was such a legend at that point that they were sort of honored that he was going to illustrate the movie poster, and they were just saying showing their gratitude by having him visit the set?
Well, not really that. My dad said I get paid to think.
Mm-hmm.
He said they brought him out there to come up with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So he would go out there and he did such an enormous amount of preliminary work. He would go on the sets or at times not go on the sets and just get stills, but he would do tons and tons of sketches, black and white sketches. Then he'd tighten them up, and then eventually he'd bring them to the studios. They would start talking about what they were looking for. My dad was a very good listener as to what kind of direction the studio was looking for, though they didn't give him an exact copy of what they wanted done. They wanted him to come up with his own ideas. So a lot of times what he would do is he would then take those black and white sketches, he turn them into rough color comps, once again go back into the studio, then they take those color comps, they talk about it further, then he would go back and he tighten them up, and then in the final analysis, he'd usually walk in with 5, 6, 7, or 8 finished pieces that they would discuss which ones they wanted to possibly use for the ad campaign. And interesting enough, the ones they would use, for instance, Pennies from Heaven,
Mm-hmm.
might not have been the one that my dad was fell in love with the most, but he said that's just the way it goes. You give them the work and say, here it is, pick which one you think would work best for your campaign.
Did he go to the Philippines for Apocalypse Now?
No, he did not. No,
he
he
did
no,
not?
he did
Just
not.
curious.
He
Yeah.
did meet and talk with Coppola, but he did not. And there was a gentleman named Mike Salisbury. I don't know if you ever heard of him, Michael Salisbury.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very great designer, artist. Um, he's the one that told Coppola initially that Bob Peak should be the guy on the project for Apocalypse Now, and it's a
Oh,
good thing he did because my dad was the right he was the right artist for that project.
Did your dad have a favorite? Not I know that Apocalypse Now is clearly the his piece, the thing that he was most proud of. But did he have a favorite movie that he had worked on? That he was most
and
proud
also,
of?
did he have a favorite among you and your brothers and sisters? Did he have a favorite among you guys?
I don't think
That's
so. I hope not. No, my dad had a lot of favorites. I mean, when I look back at the work that he's done, there's so many you can look at. He did West Side Story.
Mm-hmm.
That was really his first big movie work that he did. And then after that, a few years later, he did work. He did the work for My Fair Lady, and that's really when the floodgates started opening up for him. And he'd always told me too that of all the people he ever met in the movie business, he went on the set for My Fair Lady. He said Audrey Hepburn was the nicest person he'd ever met, and he'd met many people over the years in
Wow,
the
that's
movie
incredible.
industry. But he did that one. Then a few years later, they called on him again, and he had done some other movie work as well for the movie Camelot. And what's interesting about Camelot is that to me has always been the original collage montage
Hmm.
movie poster where you have the two or three figures in the middle with all the elements of the film around the edge. And
Right.
over the years there's many other artists who took that as their template for the work that they did when it came to that type of um, a movie campaign, movie poster.
Did your dad have an opinion of like when he would see posters and it sort of seemed like someone had said, "Get me someone like Bob Peak." You know what I mean? Like we can't afford Bob Peak. Get me someone like was he aware? Like as you said, like when he would see people using his template or people drawing like him a little bit, did that bother him? Did it rankle him? Was it something he was paying attention to, or not so much?
Not so much. I mean, what do they say? Something is the best flattery. When someone
Imitation, yes, yeah,
imitation
exactly,
is
yeah.
no, he was just doing his work. He was so busy that he would do. Sometimes they might want him to work on a certain movie, but he already, at times my dad could do two movies and a time cover all at the same time. In
Wow.
his studio, he would be like going day and night to get this work done. So he wasn't really so concerned about other people's work. He was plenty busy himself. I think he probably assumed that a lot of other artists did some really great work, and there were some really beautiful movie work that was done by other artists. But he was just busy, really concerned with the project at hand that he was involved with.
Now, these earlier works that, from sort of the pre kind of 70s era, from My Fair Lady and Camelot, were at what point in his career was he bringing the art home and keeping it? And what point did he make that part of his deal?
It's interesting because that's something that's you were kind of looked at as a gun for hire.
Hmm.
They paid you, and my dad got paid very handsomely for the work that he did. But there was a time when there was, some of this art would just land up on someone's desk. Some of it landed in garbage pails, for all you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
back in the early '60s, starting into the '70s. What happened was, I think after a while, unless they bought the actual finished piece, they didn't really own that finished piece of art. They used the art and they had the rights to use the art for advertising, but there was supposed to be a clause that said, yes, we are buying the actual art as well, an additional fee, and if that was the case, then they could keep the art. What happened is it was starting in the '70s. All of a sudden, artists, not just like my dad, they started to get their original art back. There
Hmm.
are some of my dad's art that is gone. There is some of my dad's art, movie art, that other people own. That do they actually in fact own it? I don't know. But he did get back a good portion of his work. And you just have to look at it as, I don't think we're in the position or want to go chase other pieces of artwork that might not really be owned by the person or persons that have that artwork. You just move on with
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Uh,
think
You
that's
know,
probably a healthy attitude. Yeah.
you know,
did your dad keep frame his art, his own art? I always wonder this, and
no,
keep it up around the house. Or?
some of it he framed. He very rarely kept art around the house.
Okay.
He kept it in storage. He very rarely did that. And then after he passed away, we started to frame some of his work and we started to reframe some of the original work as well.
Okay.
But he didn't really keep, like, around our houses we lived in, Dad's art was not on the walls.
Let me
They
ask
had
you
other
this. I was going to ask, did he collect
Other
other
people.
artists,
Yeah.
either by other posters or other contemporaries, or did he like art on his walls by other people? Like,
Not necessarily. I mean, he had his favorite artists. A lot of them were they were fine artists, but he didn't really have other people's art on his wall. There we, Nikolai Feshin and Robert Henry and John Singer Sargent. These are some of the artists that my dad really Egon Schelling. These are some of the artists that my dad really appreciated. And he studied their works. My dad studied other people's works. Artists don't just do what they want to do. They study other people's works, and from there they derive their own unique way of presenting their art.
Sure. Sure.
I thought it'd be fun to maybe turn through the
Yeah.
catalog a
I
little
was just
bit
gonna
and
go there.
talk about. Oh, okay,
That's why
great. A
you're my
couple of the
co-host, Dave.
pieces, if that was
Yeah, I,
cool.
I got a copy
Um,
of the catalog right here.
yep. By the way, just a kudos to Heritage. I know they're our sponsor, and I am getting paid to say this, but they did a really nice job with the catalog. I
I
thought,
don't have a printed
like,
one yet.
this.
I think it's
Oh,
probably
this to me is a real keeper. Like, I'm going to bid and we'll see what happens, but whether I win or lose, this is going on the bookshelf, which is, I think, a really nice thing, just to have the reference of your dad's stuff in one little spot. I know obviously it's not all of it. I have also, we should point out, the book you did, the two books you did, the main book on your dad, which is wonderful. I think I did a Kickstarter with that a million years ago. Was that
Yeah,
where it was first? Yeah.
yes,
And
the
then,
art of Bob Peak,
right, and then the sketches book as well,
the
which
drawings
was
of Bob
yeah,
Peak.
the drawings of Bob Peak, which are truly wonderful and are available, and really they should be on your shelf, our listeners, both in terms of appreciating Bob
yeah.
Peak the artist, but also you can't talk about the history of like the movies without talking about Bob Peak, and these are just truly wonderful reference books. And I really dug them, the books. But I thought this catalog came out great. Um,
I think Heritage did a fantastic job on the
yeah.
catalog. Kudos to them.
This first piece was not a piece that I was particularly familiar with. The Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers piece. It reminded me a little bit. I guess I don't know. It was a poster, I guess, or sort of. I guess just sort of about them in general. In a funny way, it reminded me a little bit of when I think of your dad, and I think of like some of like the stamps he did, like where
Yes,
it's like
Mm.
where it's kind of like this is every Fred and Ginger movie, not one specific Fred and Ginger movie, and that in a way, even though it's a still painting, the I can't think of your dad's work without thinking of motion. And in my mind, when I look at this, it looks like this painting is moving, that they're dancing, and it's just a really powerful image that I like I said, I wasn't familiar with it, but I really dug it. Yeah, just kind of cool.
my dad did a lot of fine arts work, not just his movie work, and especially as he got into the late '80s, near the start of the '90s, he started doing more fine arts work. He saw the shift in the movie business where it was kind of moving away from illustrators like my dad,
Hmm.
and he had made his, you know, career, he had made enough money where he had the luxury of starting to do fine arts painting, and he started realizing that the amount of work in the movie business was probably going to get less and less and less. But he once told me, he goes, Tom, I've been in the saddle for 35 years, and it's time for me to start doing other works that I enjoy doing for myself. That he would a lot of them he'd sell at gallery shows, but he
So
was a big
is this what one of those pieces were? Is this something he sort of did more for himself as opposed to um, it wasn't for hire? This wasn't for a
no
yeah.
himself. This
Gotcha.
is a
Very
fine arts
cool.
piece, and he was a big fan of Fred Astaire and Ginger Roger. He loved their movies.
Mm.
He loved their movies. So, and if you see, the catalog looks great. When you see these pieces in real life, they're large. They're
Yeah,
just magnificent.
they're huge, which
They're
you know
huge.
what? Yeah, they're
I mean,
which is
all my
really
dad's work,
incredible. Yeah,
everything he did was huge. Even all of his movie work is 30 by 40, 40 by 50. Even his sketches were like 28 by
I
30
love it.
inches and larger.
Yeah.
He couldn't he needed a free hand, so he painted large. Always did.
when I look at your dad's stuff, I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with anything, but that's kind of what our show is. I always think about in Hannah and her sisters, Daniel Waters plays this like movie star who goes to look at Max von Sydow's art, and he gets and as he's being led downstairs to see the art, he's looked at some sketches, and then he goes, "Do you have anything big? I got a lot of wall space. I need something really big," and I think. That character would have really loved your dad's stuff because he had a lot of
Oh,
wall space. Yeah.
his stuff is all everything is so big. Always was
Yeah,
big.
the good news, collectors, is if you're bidding, you're going to get on a dollar per square inch, you're getting a good value.
Yeah.
You get a really nice big piece. It's not like the crazy Ralph McQuarrie stuff, which is tiny. And,
Postage stamp. Yeah.
This is big. Yeah.
These are big pieces of
Yeah,
art.
I mean, even
Yes.
this Missouri Breaks piece, the third lot, the Brando study
The
is
Brando, I love that
is
piece. Yeah.
40 by 30. It's a
Yeah.
sketch. It's comp. It's
So
incredible.
when he would go, we'll jump over and we'll come back to the rollerball in a second. You mentioned he went out west and like was on the set of Missouri Breaks, and he took
For
a lot
3
of
weeks.
Right, and he took a lot of photos and stuff. Would he sketch at night, or would he kind of wait till he got back to the studio to kind of look through his photos and start sketching? Or would he sketch on the set, or did he have kind of a process, or as the mood hit him?
Well, he was on the set, Arthur Penn's movie Missouri Breaks, and he would sketch on the set with Marlon
Oh, wow.
Brando and Jack Nicholson, and but at one point, after just a little while, Brando was notorious. Matter of fact, recently I just read a biography on him, his bio, and when he was Brando was notorious for not remembering his lines,
Right.
so they had cue cards outside the
Yeah.
frame quite a bit. That's the way he worked. But at one point, after just like a week or so, Brando said, "Bob, it's bothering me when you sit there and sketch me." So my dad did sketches for like a week. Then he stayed on set for the next couple of weeks, but he only could sit there and watch Brando and analyze it. And then he went back to his studio and did more sketches. He did a lot of sketch work on this. He loved, drawing Marlon Brando. He always said he had a magnificent head to work with. But this particular piece, I think it's a magnificent piece of Brando.
If memory serves, when Brando's estate was auctioned off many, many years ago, I feel like he had a piece of your father's art in his collection, a sketch from this series. I feel like there was a peak sketch of Brando in Brando's own collection. Does that ring a bell? That's
It,
my
it, it,
memory of it.
it
Yeah.
doesn't ring a bell, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's how I remember it. Yeah, this just the eyes on the Brando. I mean, again, I'm just talking about the art is boy, he really just
Yeah.
captures the probably the greatest actor ever in just a really wonderful way. Let's just jump backwards for a quick second to the rollerball piece.
Yes.
Um, I didn't realize that there was a rollerball portfolio. That was news to me. I guess used to sort of promo the movie, kind of a thing, like of
Yes, there
of
was.
your dad's work. That was very exciting to hear. I Because like I said, I didn't know. Um, and I'd always kind of wondered. I knew your dad sketched a lot, but obviously over the years I'd seen a lot of pieces and whatnot. And now it makes more sense that he was also. I guess the stuff was so good they decided to do. Did he know they were doing the portfolio from the get go, or were these like
I,
pieces that he were like alt paintings, and they said, "Oh, let's do a portfolio," or maybe you don't know.
I'm not sure, but I know that they did a series of these in a portfolio that were limited edition prints that sold really well. I've got some copies of those,
Oh,
as the
wow.
rest of my family does as well. But this is actually an original, one of those original pieces.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay,
Just again.
I know that the director Frank Darabont has a few of these in his collection that he has
Oh,
purchased
wow.
over the years. But these are really
Just
great. He did these on set. He spent 3 weeks in Germany on set. Brought my mother, and they spent time on the set, at dinner at night. He got this talk with Norman Jewison and also James Caan and the rest of the actors. It was it was interesting that he actually got to go on locations quite often.
That's
what
yeah.
I love about this is it reminds me as much, and again, we're talking about like his Olympic stamps or like his Time magazine covers. He is treating the sport of rollerball like it's football, like it's
Mhm.
ice hockey, whatever. He's lending it. He makes it seem like a real sport in a great way. It makes it seem like the movie is real because he's treating the sport the way he treated the other sports that he did for Time magazine and whatnot in a
Yes,
really wonderful way.
yes.
He gives it a reality, makes it. I don't know. It just I don't know. Some of his rollerball images are some of my favorite stuff. Um, let's jump to The Comfort of Strangers. This was not a piece I knew about. And this may be my single favorite piece of art that your dad, movie poster art that your dad did. I know it's not Apocalypse Now.
It's just
I just
incredible. Yeah.
the Klimt sort of his take on Klimt. I just it kills me. This is just gorgeous. Was this a piece hanging in your house as well? It's so
Yes, it was.
striking. Yeah.
Yes, it was. My dad was a big lover of Gustav Klimt's work, and you can obviously see the influence on here enormously. And this was a film that that they wanted. It's a little bit more risque. this was more of a European kind of look at
Hmm.
at the movie, and I love it. I think it's design wise, I think it's just fantastic. And obviously, you see the heavy Gustav Klimt, and when you see this one in real life, I've had a few people, even from Heritage, that say, "Yeah, this is my favorite." Next to the Apocalypse Now, this is my second favorite piece that's in the collection for that's up for auction. I love the
Yeah.
piece. I think it's
I don't
beautiful.
know. I honestly, I don't know the movie that well. I saw it back in the day, and I'll probably
It's
check it
really
out
interesting.
again. Yeah,
It's
that's. I
really,
mean, I
really
remember
interesting.
a lot of wandering the streets of Venice and long looks and stuff.
It is a Paul
But
Schrader movie.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But just an incredible piece of art. And I think that's one of the things that's really interesting about your dad, which is I think these things exist both as, this is a movie prop collecting podcast, and I think these are, again, they're not props, but they are, movie art, and they exist as movie art. And in some cases, some of the movies are really well known and very big and very popular. This is not necessarily that kind of movie, and in this case, I think it works just as an incredible piece of art, as a tribute to what an incredible artist your father was, because The Comfort of Strangers doesn't mean much to me, but I'm drawn to this piece maybe as much as any piece in this catalog. And again, that speaks to your dad, the artist, just the work on this and the detail. Like, I mean, I want to get, I know this is going to sound very jokey because obviously there's naked ladies and naked men in it, but I want to get up close to this piece. I want to see the detail of like the sort of the tile necklace around her, her neck, like just the level
Mhm.
of detail is just striking. I will be bidding on this one. This is one I can't swear how high I'm going, but I'm going to throw a little action on this one because I think it's just gorgeous. I really love this one.
I
Yeah.
think this is a fantastic piece. I mean, I love on the bottom right-hand corner, the bottom right where he has a signature, all that action with the gondola and the
Hmm.
water and everything. It's just it's in real life. It's this thing is spectacular, and of
I
course,
love I love the
beautifully
way his
framed.
signature sort of blends
Hmm.
in with the other sort of black sort of like of the way of the water and the waves. Like he kind of,
Yes,
it's there, but it's not. It blends in a really interesting way. So
yes,
yeah,
it does.
Um,
just a gorgeous
yeah,
piece.
I'm jumping to the next one, the James Bond comp, the Timothy Dalton Bond comp. I was immediately drawn to this because I'd never seen, I of course knew your dad's work with the Roger Moore films, but I had never seen him do Dalton before, and Dalton was the Bond that I grew up with. That's the first one that I got to see in the theater, so not necessarily my favorite Bond, but certainly the Bond I associate with my childhood, and I just love this piece because it so conveys the shift of the Bond sort of storytelling out of the Moore era, which was so kind of poppy and and light and gentlemanly, into this much darker era. His collar is open, the bow tie is off. It just projects this new kind of dangerous Bond, which I just really enjoyed.
This is a really interesting piece. It was originally called License Revoked, but they changed the name
Right.
to License Kill. And my dad did several different comps on this, but they decided to go with the photographic ways. And interesting enough, a lot of people have said that Timothy Dalton's portrayal of Bond is as close as Ian Fleming actually thought of Bond. He was really what Bond was all about. They've been a lot of, I've always been a very big James Bond fan, and I love some of the other artists that, Sean Connery, Roger Moore,
Hmm.
I think have done some brilliant work on Bond. But this particular piece is really interesting. I mean, it's a drawing, but it's just the, it just, there's danger in this guy's
Hmm.
eyes. He's a dangerous individual, and it's really interesting because it really goes along with the way the film was and the way Timothy Dalton portrayed Bond as more of a dangerous type character.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I feel like it was like they got a guy that could have done the serious kind of Daniel Craig version, but then they weren't quite there with the
In the
movie they
scripts,
put him
right.
in. Yes,
Yes,
exactly. Um, I've seen a couple of others. You know, you talk about your dad doing a lot of studies over the years, and one of the things that I remember, I've seen other ones in other colors, which was really interesting. Like I
Yeah.
feel like there was one with more of a red background, and
Yes.
was that your
Yes.
dad just experimenting with like, in the sketch process, like what looked good, like what worked? Was that kind of he would just
Exactly.
play with color and whatnot?
He would constantly come up with new ideas as he was working on things. He would constantly his mind would say, "Okay, let me try it like this, let me try it like that." He just go on and on and on. And the one you're thinking about, the red, is a really nice piece. But I think this is a really handsome,
I like the
interesting,
dark. Yeah, I like the
the
dark
dark
color on this
the
one.
dark
Yeah,
color
I
on
I,
this.
I
Yeah.
It
think
makes it
so. And
feel kind of
again,
like photographic, almost like like one of those metallic prints that, not a tin type, but you know what I'm talking about, like that yeah, a metallic photographic film print.
I think this is not something that, I mean, I guess maybe it doesn't need to be said, but this podcast likes to say that which doesn't need to be said and repeat it a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad's ability to capture likenesses, and again, I keep going back to the eyes. The eyes here on Dalton, the eyes on Marlon Brando, and I'm turning the page
Connery.
to the Sean Connery, the eyes on the Hunt for Red October one. I'm
Yes.
I mean, I'm just drawn to them, and they are they are not, these are not photorealistic. Your dad obviously has sort of a slightly impressionistic style. I don't know what else to call it other than that. And yet at once it just captures the man in each case in a really just incredible way. I mean, I see it in the eyes, but then just the spirit of the piece. I am a big fan of the Hunt for Red October piece. I love the
Yeah.
movie, but
The movie's a
pure
great
Sean
movie. Yeah.
Connery. Yeah.
And this
Um,
piece, I love this piece. And you're right. He didn't just paint like he wasn't painting like a photograph.
right.
He painted the mood of the person. He left a lot of things
That's a
out.
great way of putting it. The mood of the
It was
person
mood.
and the mood of
The
the
movie.
movie, which I guess sometimes are the same thing, but the mood of the person, the mood of the movie. Yeah.
A lot of people when I have posted this on my Facebook page and other Instagrams and so forth, a lot of people, 9 out of 10, go, "I cannot believe they went with what they did for the final key art as
Right.
opposed to your dad's work here." They go, "Why did they do that?" It's like, well, that was the studio's choice. But I
It
think
seemed
this particular art is just really nice.
I guess this was the shift in the movie industry where it almost seemed like they would have your father create a piece like this, which is incredible, and then kind of do a version of it with photographs. Like they were using what he created, but in a very sort of, I guess, bastardized way, if you
It was
will, where the
inspiration
finished
for their
right, the finished
uninspired.
poster right kind of looks like this, except they've replaced everything with photos or more, I guess, realistic. Yeah, but you can see the poster that they did. Like they definitely they liked this. They just didn't have the courage, I guess, or they
Well,
felt, I
it's
don't know. Yeah,
as time went on, movies used to be they kind of got into art by committee more so than they used to be.
yeah,
And everybody had to put their 2 cents worth in. My dad always said something, "Get the work in as late as possible because the longer it sits in an art director's room at the studios, the more they're going to criticize it and want to do something else." So I think what happened was there got to be a lot, the times have changed. I mean, look at movies now. A lot of it is just a head here, a head there, a head there, and that's it with a little scene. And it's more of a cookie cutter look than it is something that really has an expression that you see in a lot of my dad's work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, this is the beginning of sort of agents taking over the art of the movie
right.
poster
Where
with
the
deal,
poster gets negotiated in the
yeah,
contract.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yes,
deals and who
exactly.
gets the biggest head and where's their name go on the poster and things like that. Um, and then we move on to the next, which I love the finished piece for the one sheet from Hair, which is
Yes.
just an incredible piece, and so so different but so quintessentially your dad and a Bob Peak piece.
Yes, it
Um,
is. Yes, it is. It's got the life in this piece. It just says it all. I mean, it's just my dad's loose, paint strokes.
mhm.
But like my brother Matthew once said, all those little loose squigglies and paint strokes, that's 40 years of experience. Those aren't just done by themselves. That's 40 years of knowing exactly what to do. But my dad was so unafraid of doing something that was so different from what other artists might do. He was so loose with his work that I think in this particular case, the energy in this painting is unbelievable.
Yeah,
It
it's
really is.
pure energy. There's a sense that the poster is, Hair's a musical, and there's a sense that
Hmm.
this poster is singing and dancing. Like it's a musical without knowing it's a musical just by looking at it. And a really
Yes.
incredible example where, Hair at this point, I guess, had been on Broadway it's a hit unto itself on Broadway. And they finally made the movie, I guess, in the early 80s,
Yeah.
Milos
Yes.
Forman and starring the late Treat Williams as
Yes.
Berger, the main hippie. And I guess, I don't remember, I don't know what the Broadway Hair poster looked like, but it was probably something, on the cast album that was in a lot of people's minds. Like if they knew Hair, they probably knew what that Broadway image was. And so there's a little bit of a challenge here where you have to kind of create something that lets you know this is this whole other thing. This is a movie version of it. And it accomplishes that in a really incredible way where this is how I think of Hair, wherever that fits in. And I just love the motion, the energy. Just really incredible.
And then I want to talk about Excalibur.
Yeah. God, you're getting two really big Excalibur fans here.
Okay, yeah, what a great
Yeah.
movie that was, and the art my dad did for that film is magnificent. It really is.
It's funny, Tom, because I'm such a huge Apocalypse Now fan. It's always been a cultural reference. John Milius is my favorite screenwriter. And when I say this next thing, I in no way diminishing Apocalypse Now and its influence on me
No,
and place in my. But when I think of your dad as a movie poster artist, I think of the Excalibur campaign, and I think just because of the way that it brings that. I'm a child of the 80s, so I grew up with, his Superman art and certainly his Star Trek art. And I just think the sort of technicolor of this campaign and the way it sort of evokes those other things that I was probably more familiar with Apocalypse Now kind of coming to me later in my adult life. But this is the one I always go back to when I think of, him. This, certainly the kind of Japanese, poster art, and then certainly the main one sheet image here. For lot 9 on page 26 of the printed catalog. It so kind of draws you in and makes you want to see this movie, and makes you think of the Excalibur legend. It speaks to John Borman and his very distinct style that he brought to the film. I love them both, and I think I love Apocalypse Now, but I think if I could have anything from this catalog, it would be this probably this one sheet
the
piece.
X,
Yeah,
the one sheet X, there was a love scene. There was the one with the knights. There was Merlin. There were these
yeah,
individual ones, and then this one with the collage, the montage. That's a painting in itself. They didn't put images together. That's one painting
one painting.
with all those images my dad did on that board.
Was this one where your dad visited the set? Because I was struck in the Japanese poster art, the one of Guinevere and Lancelot,
Yes.
it has that reflection of the green light, which is such a big part of the movie. They're always reflecting that green light. And so, I mean, I guess he could have seen it in a still, but I did wonder if he was like on set and got to witness it or anything, if you
In
knew.
this case, he was not on set.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This was stills, but if you look at this Guinevere, look at her hair. Do you see her hair? Towards the bottom, there is the Merlin's face.
Oh, wow.
That's
You
incredible.
see it? Do you see it in
Yep.
there?
I see it there now. I never noticed that before.
That's Merlin's face that's in there. So
Oh my God.
my dad would do this thing. So it's interesting because looking at this catalog from Heritage, you've got Apocalypse Now on the front, and what did they thought was the best thing to put on the back? Excalibur. So that's kind of how they're looking at
Yeah,
this in a sense, descending order as to what's the most magnificent of the pieces in this book,
yeah.
in this
Yeah, I
catalog.
mean, I think you are talking to two huge fans of both of these pieces, both the Guinevere one and the other one, which obviously includes Guinevere and Lancelot in it.
Yes.
So you kind of get the
Yes.
best of both worlds.
And I feel like
Just
I feel like looking at this art that he loved this movie? Do you have a sense of what, whether this
Oh, he loved
he
it. He
did?
loved this film.
Yeah.
You kidding? Doing the work on this film, I think it's one of the best, if not the second or third best thing my dad ever did. I mean, this whole
Wow.
campaign for Excalibur is magnificent. And I keep reiterating this, but when you see these in person, it's not like looking at them in the magazine
Right.
or in this catalog. When you see them, like when they saw them at Heritage, they came and picked up things at my place and at my sister's place, and they brought everything back to Heritage in Dallas, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe what we're looking at." The enormity of the size, but these pieces are so in real life, it takes on a life of its own. It really does. If anybody gets to see these before they actually bid on them, they're going to be, or if they bid on them and they don't see them and they win that bid, they're going to be they're going to be in for a very big surprise as to how magnificent this work really is.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they have a couple of them in Beverly Hills. I'm going to go over later this
Yes.
week and check them out. So I'm hoping I get to see a
Now,
couple
when is that?
in
Because
person.
I'd like to get over there myself. When is that going to
I'm
be? Do you
going
know?
over. I'm going over tomorrow. I think. I don't know when it's actually open to the public, but I think later this week. I think. I'm not sure honestly,
Okay.
but
Okay.
people,
I'm going to.
if you're listening, I don't know when this is airing, but you check it out because they are doing. There's sort of a mini exhibit of stuff from all of the auctions, not just the Peak
Yeah.
collection, but the rest of the entertainment auctions and the Cecil B. DeMille stuff at Heritage in Beverly Hills on display leading up to the auction. I don't know the dates, but please go check that out if you want to see stuff in person. Yeah. So that brings us to the Apocalypse Now section. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if there's anything else left to say. I did just love that first one, which was just I guess the alternate comp key art with the faces, another
Yeah.
Brando. It has
Willard and Kilgore and
yeah, exactly.
Kurtz. Yeah.
Just really, really captures Duvall
Yeah.
as Kilgore in
As
a
Kilgore.
really
Yeah.
wonderful
But it's
way.
it's
Yeah.
so funny because
Um,
it captures the star wattage of the movie, but it's not Apocalypse Now. The way the one with the bridge and the Brando head is, where that's the
Of course.
that
Yes.
could that poster could actually be the cover to Hearts of Darkness,
Yes.
or Heart of
Yes.
Darkness, not Hearts of Darkness. That's the
But I think this
documentary.
is a brilliant piece, and it's the only one that shows Duvall, which
Right.
is interesting because Duvall and Coppola had their issues on set,
Yeah.
and he wasn't put in the final piece. Uh, Duvall, per Coppola's, that was per Coppola's instructions. Yes.
but you could
That's
imagine
power.
in the final painting that Duvall could have been in there somewhere. I guess
Yeah.
maybe. I don't
But
know. Yeah. Yeah.
Coppola got what he wanted.
Yeah.
So that's you know, it was his baby.
Duvall's not in the final painting, Dave, but Merlin is.
He's in the water.
Yes.
Um, I love the bridge. I guess with the
Yes.
bridge comp. I guess we'll call this just because the bridge is such a wonderful part of the finished piece, and I just love that he did this sort of full size version of the bridge to kind of work out both the PT boat going upriver, but just the sheer chaos and destruction, and it really kind of captures both the entire movie, but the sequence in the film itself, even though in the final piece, it's such a little small component. I love seeing him working on it, like working it out, which is just really, in terms of process, I'm a fan of artist process. So
Okay.
I think
Yes.
there's something really cool about that.
Yeah. This is
Um,
a real Bob Peak. Let me tell you. It's
yeah,
the reflection in the water and the boat and the whole thing. It's just, just my dad always said with his work, it's what you got to know when to stop, and it's more what you leave out than what you put in. A lot of his work, he didn't fill the entire page with images because he had, like on this one, it goes dark on the sides, dark on the top, but because of that, the impact of the image really reaches
Yeah.
out to you.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
this is a piece of fine art. I mean, you don't even have to know this from a movie. It's just
Yes,
it's
yeah.
such a
exactly.
wonderful depiction of that part of the world.
And then we get to the finished piece. And what struck me about the finished piece, the finished Apocalypse Now poster, I mean, is in a way the Brando head is almost more it's less impressionistic than a lot of other faces in your dad's work. There's a level of almost like the sweat running down his face, the water running down his face. There's a level of detail there, and I don't want to call it. It's not photorealistic, but it's hyper realistic in some ways, and it's so striking in that you cannot your face you are so just drawn to that center face. It almost just seems like he's bringing in another art style into a traditional quote unquote Bob Peak painting that I'm just blown away by the mix, because it doesn't quite seem like the way other faces are in some of his other pieces. If I'm making any sense, it doesn't have it's the stillness. It doesn't have the energy. It's almost, you're drawn to it because it is so still and frightening in a way. I don't know. That's my artistic interpretation.
That's interesting. I mean, this piece here, what I love about this piece is his eyes.
Yes.
The eyes, I mean, what he did, it's more detailed than a lot of his other impressionistic type work, but it's the
I just
eyes
mean
and the water coming down, and this boat with the river, with the bridge, and the whole thing
boat
is
and the river has all that peak energy, and the helicopters and the sunset has the peak energy. And then you get to that Brando face and it's almost frighteningly still. Like it's such an active artistic
like
choice.
A sculpture.
I love it. Exactly. Just like, I love it. It's three-dimensional, in a real way
Martin
almost.
Sheehan, and when you see it in real life, Martin Sheehan, his image up there, it's unbelievable when you see the actual
what people don't realize is
the
Martin Sheen head is probably about 7 feet, and this thing is about 200 feet tall. I mean, it's giant. It's really big.
It is large.
It's a big. I mean,
it's 3 stories high. It's incredible. Yeah.
But what he did here is he encapsulated, which is what an artist tries to do, the feel of the movie in one image. That's what these artists try to do. And I thought, in this particular movie, there's a lot of different actors that were involved. I've seen the movie many times. I've read Heart of Darkness, and this piece, the fact that it really conveys the movie without having to put all the elements in it. I mean, this tells you the story. This really tells you the story of Apocalypse Now.
Yep. Agreed.
That's the perfect way of putting it.
And the other thing too is that there's only one of them in the world.
Yeah.
That's it, here.
Yeah.
There's not like another one. This is it. It's
an incredible collection. I understand why you are letting these pieces go. I think this is gonna be wild and woolly bidding. They're incredible to see. And Tom, thank you for being on our show. We should wrap it up. I'm curious, and you're welcome to say the Apocalypse Now, but I'm actually gonna force you and say to you, not counting the art that's in this that you're sort of getting rid of, and I don't mean necessarily something that you're still holding on to, but not counting these pieces. Do you have a favorite piece of your dad's art beyond these pieces, like just yourself that you love?
That I love. I would say I really love Camelot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I really love My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. If you had to ask me to pick, I really love Star Trek.
Which one?
I actually like Star Trek. I actually like the original Star Trek because it shows the beams, but I like the one Search for Spock.
Yeah.
On Star Trek that has Spock's head with all. I think that is a magnificent piece.
Yeah, it's terrific.
So really, if you would ask me what other 4 pieces, I would say those are it. Those 4.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Tom Peak, thank you so much for being on our show. People can find your books at the store at various bookstores, and you sell them on your website as well.
They can contact me at just on my email at peaktm@aol.com.
Wonderful. Perfect. We'll put that out there to our fans.
Okay.
This has just been fantastic. Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed this, guys. Thank you for the time.
Really great. We'll be back with more coverage of the big Heritage Auction. And I should remind everybody as we're wrapping up, this is going to be going on. The 15th is that's the Cecil B. DeMille collection. And then Right. And then the 16th, 17th, and 18th is the rest of the auction. But the Bob Peak stuff will be session 1 on Wednesday the 16th at 11 a.m. Go to Heritage Auctions at ha.com. The auction will be live in Dallas, but you can arrange phone bidding, bid online, all different ways of bidding. But this will be session 1 on Wednesday the 16th.
Bring your big boy pants for this one. This is not. They're not going to be steals and deals to be had. I don't think in this collection. So.
And I think the Apocalypse Now auction will be one to watch for the ages. Like you should just tune in live just to watch for the hell of it, because it's gonna go. Forgive me my language. Fucking nuts, I think, in a really great way. Yeah.
And I like to end this with something. There's only going to ever be one Bob Peak.
Yeah. Well said. And we'll end on that note.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
We'll see you next week.